What's going on, everybody? America Football Network here with another video today. And today we're bringing you our Washington Huskies preview and prediction. But before we get started, make sure you guys like and subscribe, comment them thoughts and opinions down below. Let me know what you guys think of today's video, what you would do differently, what you would have, Washington's record finishing as. Also, help me hit that goal of 1,150 subscribers by the end of September. We just recently hit 1,000, so we're excited for that. So help me out with that, but let's go ahead and jump in to today's video. So Washington last season went 11-2 overall, 7-2 in the Pac-12 with 2 losses at UCLA, 40-32, and at Arizona State, 45-38. They had the head scratching loss at Arizona State. Not bad to lose at UCLA. Probably a game they still should have won, but again, it's not a bad loss. That one, for that one to be a loss. But then you look at some of the wins they did had. One on the road at Oregon, 37-34. That was a tough game and a big win for them. They beat Oregon State at home 24-21. They and then in the Alamo Bowl, they beat Texas 27-20. Now, Washington did catch a break last season. They didn't play USC or Utah. So those are two great teams to not have to deal with last year. But this season you get both of them. So that is something that you're going to have to deal with and figure out how to play around that. So, this is going to be a tougher schedule this year. We'll see what this team is really made of. I think that Michael Penix leading that offense is going to be great. I think the defense definitely needs to improve, but I think Penix and that offense, when you look at some of the guys they got, they got Dylan Johnson and Cameron Davis at running back. Cameron Davis, the leading returning rusher for this team, 107 carries, 522 yards, and 13 touchdowns last season. Then you look at these receivers. You got Rome Odunze. You got Jalen Polk. You bring in the transfer Jeremiah Bernard from Michigan State, who I would imagine is going to be a pretty good wide receiver for him at the 4 spot. But the big guy, Jalen McMillan, last year, 79 catches, 1,098 yards, 9 touchdowns. Dude was a beast. I expect more of the same from this offense. I think that they are going to be one of the best offenses. I think they're going to have the second best passing offense in the country. I think Ohio State is up there ahead of them just barely because of their receivers. But I think Washington may have a top 3 quarterback in the country. Which is also crazy to say that the Pac-12 has 2 of the top 3 quarterbacks in the country with Caleb Williams and Michael Penix. But it's true. I think Penix is a guy who could potentially win the Heisman. I think you got to have him in the Heisman conversation. I know his odds aren't great for it. He's definitely a guy I'd put some money on to win the Heisman, because if we're at the end of the season and Penix is thrown for 5,000 yards and 40 touchdowns to 8 picks, and Washington sitting at 11-1, 12-1, something like that. There's a real chance that he's gonna win the Heisman this season, that he could. But let's go ahead and jump into the schedule and see what I have predicted for them this season. So week 1, they get Boise State. That is going to be a great game. They get Boise State at home. I have this game as a win for Washington, but I'm excited for this game. Not going to be one that they're going to be able to just sleepwalk into. They get a challenge week 1. Now, I think that this is going to be a higher scoring game, and I think that Washington's going to put a lot of points on the board, but Boise State can do the same. However, I don't think Boise State can match them point for point, especially given this is a home game for Washington. And so I have the win there for the Huskies. Then you look at week 2, they get Tulsa at home. I have this game as a win. Tulsa is one of the worser teams in the American. They've come a long way from where they were just, like 3 years ago, 2021, where they were Cincinnati went to the playoff, and Tulsa was a team that pushed Cincinnati very much in that American Conference Championship game. And Tulsa's a team that was ranked, I believe, in the top 20, and were looking very good themselves back when they had Zaven Collins. So Tulsa, they've came a long way from that, though. They're not at that level anymore. They're one of the weaker teams in the American, and so I expect Washington to blow them out. I expect this to be an easy game for them. I don't see much competition in this one. Then they go on the road to Michigan State. I have this game as a win. They played a home and home in Michigan State. They got them at home last season, beat them 39-28. I think they win by even more than that this year. Michigan State's lost their quarterback, their top two receivers, as I believe. Let me look this up just to make sure. I believe Keon Coleman transferred out of Michigan State. Yeah, he did. He's at Florida State now. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. But yeah, he's transferred out. So, Michigan State has lost both of their top two receivers. They lost their quarterback. They lose some other pieces just through the draft and graduation. So Michigan State is in a bad spot. I think Washington can go there and put up 50 on them and win the game easily. Then they get Cal at home. I have this game as a win. I think Cal is one of the worst teams in the Pac-12. They lose their quarterback in Jack Plummer. They lose, some other pieces, and Cal's just not a good football team. They're not. They're not very well coached. They've never really been a top tier program. Washington is a team that may be going back to the college football playoff for their second time. And so, that's a real possibility for them this year. I think at the worst, they finish top 15. And so Cal is not going to be able to compete with a team like that. Washington will drop 50 on them and win the game very easily, much like they will against Michigan State. Then they go on the road to Arizona. I have this game as a win. I think this could be a little bit of a tougher game for a little bit in that ball game, because I think Arizona has a good offense led by Jaden DeLora at quarterback. I think they have a solid offense, and I think Washington's defense it's pretty bad. Washington's going to have to win shootout games, especially in these big games. And so, I think that this is a game that they could be pushed in for a little bit. I don't think it's a game that they need to be in fear of losing. I don't think they lose this game to Arizona, but it is a game that could be competitive for a little bit. It is. It could be, this game could have some exciting, interesting moments in it. But I think at the end of the day, Washington is just the better team. That's going to show, and they're going to beat Arizona pretty easily when it's all said and done. But I think they will get pushed a little bit. They only beat them by 10 last season, 49-39. So I think it'll be a little bit similar to that, but I think they might win by a little bit more this year, just with, that offense being more experienced. I think that, that they're going to really, really shine and put up a lot of points this season against these teams. But now looking at the next game, they get the Oregon Ducks at home. This is a team they won on the road last year by 3. I think they win this game this year again, and I think they win it by more than 3. This Oregon team, they got worse over the offseason, in my opinion. And I think Washington stays about the same, if not gets a little bit better. And so, I think that's going to be I think that's going to be something to watch. Not only that, it's a home game for Washington. I think that this is going to be a pretty entertaining game, but I think when it's all said and done, I think Washington comes out on top of this game by 7 or 10 points. I just don't think Bo Nix can lead that offense to go score for score with Michael Penix in this Washington team. I think Penix and Washington are going to put up about 40 points in this game, and I'm just not sure that Bo Nix is going to be able to lead his offense to put up 40. 40. I mean, I could even see Washington put up 37 on Oregon last year. I could see Washington scoring realistically 50-something points. And can Bo Nix do that with this offense? I don't think so. I'm still a little skeptical of Bo Nix. I'm not buying his hype and first round pick and Heisman winner, but I think he's a good college quarterback. But I just don't know if he can outduel Michael Penix in a QB battle. Then they get Arizona State at home. This is a team that they lost to last year by 7, 45-38, a game that they definitely should have won. They would have been 11-1 in the preseason or in the regular season. So that definitely hurts to have lost that game. But I think they bounce back. I don't see them losing that game. Again, I think they win that game this year. And I think they win it by, 14 plus points. I think Arizona State, again, is going to be a bottom 3 or 4 team in the Pac-12. And, I think that Washington will be more disciplined and, they're going to be a little bit more, have a little bit more chemistry than they did in last season. Penix in his second year with the Huskies. And so, I think that that Washington gets the win easily over the Sun Devils. Then they go on the road to Stanford. I have this game as a win. I think that they can beat Stanford pretty easily. I think Stanford may be the worst team in the Pac-12. They are just atrocious. New head coach, just a ton of turnover there. I think that Washington wins that game pretty easily. I just don't see Stanford being able to compete with them. Then they go on the road to USC. This is going to be one of the most highly entertaining games that there will be. Both of these teams don't have a good defense, so it's going to be tons and tons of offense. Both teams, I think, will be over 40 points in this game. And I'm going with USC in this one. I think Washington loses this game because I do think Caleb Williams is the better quarterback, and I think he will make more of the plays for his team to win. I think that Caleb Williams is the most pro-ready quarterback right now. And I think at the end of the day, with these two teams, they're similarly built. I think that Caleb Williams can best lead his team to the win. I think that it's definitely possible that Washington wins this game, but unless their defense massively improves over the course of the season, then I don't see it being likely because I feel like that that Caleb Williams is going to be able to better lead his team and will outdo Penix. Then they get Utah at home. I have this game as a win. I think Utah has a very good defense, a good offense, but I think that at the end of the day, Washington's offense is good enough to score points on that Utah defense and score a lot of them. And I don't really trust Cameron Rising whenever he's got his back against the wall. I don't really fully trust him to come away with that, especially on the road at Washington. We've seen him make some great plays late in that game to give Utah the win by 1 point against USC last season, but that was a home game for them. The crowd was on their side. It's going to be tough to go to Washington and win this game against this elite level of a football team. I just don't see Utah being able to do that, so I have the win for Washington. Then they go on the road to Oregon State. Again, I have this as a win. Oregon State beat them last year. They beat Oregon State last year by 3 at home. Now they go on the road to Oregon State this year. But, I don't know what to make of Oregon State. What's DJ Uiagalelei going to look like at quarterback for him? That is the big question. We've seen what the dude was at Clemson the last 2 years. We also see what he was in 2020. He was outstanding for those 2 games in 2020, and that everybody thought he was going to win he was a for sure Heisman winner in 2021, a for sure first round pick, and now the dude was terrible the last 2 years. What is he going to be? So it'll be interesting to see and watch what happens with him at Oregon State. I just don't know what to do with Oregon State. I don't trust DJ in a big game like this is going to be, though. I don't trust him to be a big-time team like Washington when he has with the Oregon State roster. So I have this game as a win for Washington, and I think they end up winning it by 10 points or so. Then they close out the season. They get the Washington State Cougars. This is a team they beat 51-33 last year, and I think that continues much the same. I think they beat them, if not by more points than they did. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think that Washington State will be a solid team this season. I think that they'll make a bowl game. They got Cameron Ward, so that's good. But I don't think they have enough of the skill players to really compete with this Washington team. I think that Washington will once again hang 50 on them, and I don't see Washington State having the skill players to be able to do that even against a bad Washington defense. But that wraps up today's video. I have Washington going 11-1 overall, and I have them at 8-1 in the Pac-12, and I have them coming in second behind USC, who I also have at 11-1, 8-1. I think those two teams will rematch in the conference championship. We'll see who wins that game. It's going to be a great one. Both of them will be. But I'm excited for this season. I can't wait to watch Washington during Pac-12 After Dark. Probably stream a few of their games for sure at the end of the season whenever they have some of those big-time matchups. But I'm excited about it. But I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Make sure you like and subscribe and comment those thoughts and opinions down below. Appreciate all of you watching. We'll see you guys next time.